Hello, welcome or welcome back. My name is Ari, and this week I'm reading ARCs, but you know what? Let's go on a little bit of an adventure. Hello, a bit of an alternate location for you here. This week I'm reading ARCs. I had 3 ARCs that came out in September that I want to just go back to back, or that I want to get done and get reviewed before they release. And I figured since I'm not at my normal house, it's much easier to read ebooks when you're traveling, right? So this video is really only going to cover 2 because one of them I ended up finishing at the end of last month, which was Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. That was a ARC, but it was also a sampler. It was a 400-page sampler though. The book's 700 pages, and from the sampler I have no desire to purchase the book and finish out the rest of it. So partial DNF is what we're calling that, and if you want more about why I didn't like that book, it is in my end of month wrap up at the very end of that video. That brings us to the 2 books that I am definitely reading this week. They are The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik and Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. Now both of these are sequels. Actually, I'm gonna change that. The Last Graduate is 100% a sequel. Under the Whispering Door I don't think is a true sequel, but I do think it is set in the same universe as the House in the Cerulean Sea. At least the covers are very similar, so maybe not. But I think you can read it as a standalone. I will let you know once I'm done with it. So far I have finished The Last Graduate, which is the second book in Naomi Novik's Scholomance series, and I didn't like it as much as the first one. It just didn't do it for me. Most of the book is taken up by a subplot that just peters off into nothing. It's like, why did we base so much of the book on this if nothing's ever going to come from it and you're just going to change directions? The first book ended on a huge cliffhanger, and that cliffhanger was never really addressed in this book. It was kind of like mentioned as background noise, mostly ignored, and then never really solved in this book. And then again, this book ends on another huge cliffhanger. So if you are interested in the series but not like super interested, you still haven't picked up the first book, I think I would recommend waiting until all 3 books are out, especially if you don't like waiting for cliffhangers. That way you can just continue book to book to book and not have to deal with waiting a year or so for the cliffhangers. As far as the characters go, I still love the main character, Gadriel, and her snarkiness and her I'm evil but not evil personality. She is like peak of what I want for unlikable female characters. So I did really like the book. I did ended up giving it 4 stars, mostly because of the character work and not because of the plot. The plot lost me pretty quickly. But anyway, 4 stars, not a 5-star. I'm hoping this is just the sophomore slump, and the 3rd book in the series is going to be amazing, because that happens a lot with trilogies, is like the first book's really good, the 3rd book's really good, and the 2nd book is meh at best. So we'll see how this ends in probably a couple more years. But so far, okay, but not great. A little bit disappointed. So next I am going to read Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, and I will come back and check in whenever I'm done reading that. Okay, so I have finished Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, and it's very different from The House in the Cerulean Sea, and I'm honestly not even sure that it's set in the same neighborhood. This one is more about ghost than monstrous children, like House in the Cerulean Sea is. And this follows a man that has died, and he is taken by a reaper to the ferryman to cross over into the next life. But how this ferryman works is he spends time with the deceased until they're ready to cross over. They realize that it deals with like the 5 stages of grief, I guess is the best way to put this. You follow some ghost and the ferryman and the reaper as they just kind of deal with this guy's passing. And the guy who dies is an asshole, like just straight up an asshole. But you know TJ Klune is going to spin some character growth on that one. I thought this was good, but not really aimed towards me as a person. If you like the quiet character building type of story, you're probably going to like this. I think this is a really good book for people who don't really know how to process grief. If it's recent grief or very long-term grief, I think this would be for either. And it doesn't necessarily have to be even grief from death. Maybe you are depressed and you don't see any purpose in your own life. I think this book is actually decent for that too. So if you want to be sad in a safe place, I think that this book is good for that. Personally, I thought it was very sweet and I liked it, but I didn't love it. I didn't like the ending. But the ending is not bad. It's just not what I wanted from the ending. Which I can't really go into and tell you how much of a horrible person I am for wanting a different ending without spoiling what happened in the end of that book. So let's just say that it wasn't the ending for me, but I think most people will like the ending a lot more than I like the ending. But yeah, it's just a quiet, character-driven book. It was a really quick read. It only took me like a few hours to read, and I just flew through it and then was like, wait, it's over? Oh, I thought this was going to be longer. But yeah, I read it super, super quick. So quick read, very sweet. I actually think I liked it better than House in the Cerulean Sea. I think most people say they don't, but I don't like kids, so maybe that's it. Maybe because this one doesn't deal with kids. I don't know. Who knows? But it's the same vein of sweetness, but a completely different story. Let's put it that way. It's the characters are completely different people. It's very queer. It's got an interracial couple. I think that covers it. But yeah, I liked it. 4 stars, not 5 stars. So we got 2 4 stars out of this ARC video, which is pretty good. I expected at least 1 5-star, but I got 2 4 stars, so I will accept my 2 4 stars. And that's pretty much it for this video. I only had those 2 ARCs to read and I read them. So we're gonna keep it a little bit short today. Let me know if you planned to pick up either of these books down in the comments below, and I will catch you in the next video, which should be recorded back in the normal location. Bye!